I'm so happy you're joining us for our third episode.
That's nice, Danny. I'm also so happy you are joining us for this episode.
We appreciate your support.
We really do. We're just very happy that people are watching and enjoying and sharing their thoughts. So thank you very much.
And I want to say it is so amazing that my ideas and voice are being heard.
It is amazing. I mean, your ideas and voice are amazing too, and I'm really glad the world is finally able to hear them and enjoy them and learn from them.
Are we ready to introduce our guests?
Yes, we are ready, I think. Who should go? Who should introduce them?
You.
Okay, so our guests for this episode are very special to me. They are two young researchers from Myanmar with whom I've worked since December 2016. They are two of the three co-founders of the youth-led Myanmar Coastal Conservation Lab. The third co-founder, Aung Nain So, is now working kind of part-time with the organization, but he's also a very important part of the story. So the Myanmar Coastal Conservation Lab was founded by these three after they had fallen in love with marine conservation through working as field assistants on some of my projects. And they've really turned it into a really magical, wonderful group of youth who train each other and do really important research to improve the status of marine ecosystems, coastal ecosystems in Myanmar. And we especially focus on the Gulf of Motama, which is a very muddy area in Myanmar, but also very important in terms of habitat for shorebirds, dolphins, porpoises, also some small bits of mangroves here and there that are really important for local communities. And of course, a lot of local communities who depend on fishing and farming and services provided by this kind of mudflat and riverine coastal ecosystems. So it's a really interesting place. I recommend you look it up. And as for point B, design and training, which is the organization where MCCL, Myanmar Coastal Conservation Lab, is based. It's a nonprofit that is based at a university in Myanmar, at Molamyan University, which is quite a unique setup. And they've done really fantastic work over the years, taking a very innovative, creative, hands-on approach to research and education in a number of different fields. And they take what's called a design thinking approach. I don't have time to explain it here, but it's really interesting. It's really important, I think. I'm a huge fan of it, so please look it up if you're interested. Yeah, so that's our guests for today, Yin Yin and Wint. I should also add that Wint recently finished his master's as a Achieving Fellow, Achieving Scholar at Bangor University, which is very exciting. And Yin Yin was the 2020 batch of the Young Southeast Asia Leadership Initiative, YSEALI, Youth Biodiversity Leadership Fellows. So they're getting some good recognition and good opportunities for their work, and they were part of a team that was also awarded the Stephen J. Leatherwood Award for the best presentation on marine mammal conservation in Southeast Asia at last year's World Marine Mammal Conference, which was very unexpected, very appreciated, and I think they're going to be doing a lot of wonderful work in the years to come. That was a bit of a long intro, but I have so much to say about them.
Yes, they sound so amazing.
Yeah, they really are amazing. So their work now, they'll talk a little bit about it, but they're doing research on a number of different topics related to conservation and communities in the Gulf of Motama. They were able to join me on a research trip to Myaik Archipelago, which is much clearer, bluer waters that have coral reefs and not the kind of thing we see in the Gulf of Matama, which is very muddy. But a lot of their work is on this internship program that we developed together as a way to really systematically contribute to the research and conservation skills of other youths, in the Gulf of Matama area. So it's really exciting work.
Yes! Yes, I loved hearing about it!
Good. I'm glad you did. And I should also mention that a lot of Point B's current work is supported by the Gulf of Matama project, which is working on sustainable management and conservation as well as community well-being in the Gulf of Matama. It's a project from the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, and it's implemented by Helvetas, which is an international development organization, Network Activities Group, which is the Myanmar group that does work with fisheries and communities, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature, where I used to work. So this is where a lot of MCCL's projects and activities fit in.
That is so good!
It is cool. It is very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to share some highlights.
That would be good. What are some of the highlights for you?
All of it?
All of it, huh? Maybe we can choose a small selection of all of it for now. But I agree, it was all very interesting and fun.
How about the first experience finding dolphins?
Yeah, that was a good highlight. And just some background information. Yin and Wint were with me when we made the first confirmed scientific observation of dolphins and porpoises in the Gulf of Matama. It was a really exciting moment, and now they're running, I think, the only active marine mammal project on the coast of Myanmar.
So exciting!
Yeah, really exciting. Any other highlights you want to share with our viewers?
Their lessons from communities about plastic waste.
Yeah, I think that's another important part of what they spoke to us about, and how they've learned from communities instead of just thinking how can we teach communities.
It is so important to listen to communities and diverse viewpoints in conservation.
I completely 100% agree with that.
Yay!
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 And I really loved their stories of snorkeling.
Yeah, those are really wonderful stories for them to share. Again, they joined me on a research trip down to Myanmar, where the water is more clear than the Gulf of Matama. And we had a little break and a chance to go snorkeling thanks to our colleagues at FFI who loaned equipment to us and who showed us and took us to a great snorkel spot. So that was a special moment.
Yes, this sounds like it.
Yeah. And it reminds me a bit of your own snorkeling journey, which is such a pleasure to watch and be a part of. But more on that in episode 4.
Yes, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Anything else you want to say about this episode with Wint and Yin Yin?
Just that I loved chatting with them.
As did I, and I hope you love watching us chatting with them.
Just enjoyed.
Yes, enjoy.
The water and salt in the sea is also in you and me. The waves come and go, and we are pushed to grow. But we can see with our hearts is more than the sum of its parts.
Let's go.
Ready to go, Danny?
Are you two?
Hi.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Danny and
And
Tara. You two look really good.
Yeah, really professional.
So I'm so happy.
Oh, we're so happy too.
Yeah, we are too.
It is great
It is great.
to see you.
Yeah, so nice to see you guys. So how do you want to start, Danny?
Thought so I'm so happy to interview you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are also very proud to be like interviewed by you.
Ah, we feel we are so lucky to choose to interview with you.
Me too. I'm curious. Tell me about your marine mammal work.
For marine mammal work, we do now like 3 parts. One is social media engagement. We put a fact sheet about marine mammals, marine mammal, and also now we will do in boat survey in coming next week.
Mhm.
And also we will give like some training for the boat survey skill to the student who were involved in the boat survey. Yeah, and also we do marine mammal social search, like in other people's Facebook post, and to record what kind of marine mammal is threatened or happen in Myanmar.
Yeah. So like as Yan exactly mentioned already, like we are trying to understand like what kind of marine mammals are in the Kaphamotama. So like now we already confirmed that there are like 3 species, Eode dolphins, finlap porpoises, and like humpback dolphins are in the area. And because of we already know that they are existed in the area. So like we would like to raise awareness about the importance of these species in the area, and maybe like in the future we're more working more on like how we kind of collaborate together with the communities and then the government and also the researcher and also scientists, and then to conserve these species for the better of the species itself and also the community. Yeah.
Wow! Excellent response. That is so good.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Thank you.
Tell me how it.
He's excited.
Very excited.
Tell me how it felt the first time seeing dolphins in the Gulf of Montana.
So like Ian, you could explain more.
Oh my God. Okay, I will tell you how I feel when I saw the first time saw dolphin, and then I couldn't believe what I saw. And then before I just heard dolphin is like this. Every dolphin is like fin is look like this, and then no beak, and then I just saw in picture and I heard. But when I look at it and I see the dolphin pop up, and then with a triangle, its fin is triangle, I so happy, and then I couldn't stay calm, and I shouted aloud and I tell Tara, Tara, do you believe me? I saw it. I saw the triangle. Oh, I feel really, really like surprised and
Yeah.
couldn't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like seeing like the first dolphins with my like my eyes is kind of like it's one of the best moments like in my life. Like I am seeing like a live dolphins like which was about like 2 hours a bit away from my house, and then I can't believe, and like I am like jumping like on the boats, and then like people have to say, okay, calm down, you're on the boats, and then we're shouted, and then we're so excited, and then like yeah, sure, like it's one of my best moments like in my life, yeah. And like I think like right now, even like I every time I see dolphins, I almost feel the same as like my first time. It's very exciting, and it's like I'm really proud of like what I am doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I feel till now I feel goosebumps talking about this, you know. And then at that time I feel very thankful to Tara
Yeah.
because of her we have opportunity to see that, and then I couldn't forget that kind of memory.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, it was such a fun adventure to share with you guys. It was also because of you that we could interview all the fishermen and kind of get an idea that maybe there are dolphins in this area. And I remember, so Danny, it was kind of embarrassing because I was the only one who had experience studying dolphins. And Yin Yin saw the dolphin before I did. And she's like, it's right there. And I was like, I can't see it. I can't see it. And I was sad for myself, but so happy that Yin Yin saw it, because you have a good eye. I already knew you had a good eye. I trusted that if you saw it, if you said you saw it, you really saw it. But I felt kind of sad for myself. And we had a student on the boat with us. And I was like, did you see it? And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy for you. But like, what's wrong with me? And then the boatman, do you remember the boatman turned off the motor and we just stayed there for a little while. And then
Yeah.
And then the big guy.
right next to the boat, one of the closest dolphin encounters I've had with that species. So it was such an exciting day. You doing okay?
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
Over the top of string.
Right.
I think they want to see us.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah. And during this day, I follow up with boatmen and then hound the dolphins, and then to see the dolphin still, and then they say yes, we see. Sometimes we see porpoises, and sometimes we see dolphin with 2 or 3 groups like that.
I think like one of the threats in the for the dolphin population here is bycatch, and also like there are also like local consumption like of these species in the area. So I think so it is, that's why like it is very important to understand like what are the threats for this species, and also we have to know exactly like how many the numbers of dolphins and porpoises in the population for future conservation efforts. Yep.
Yeah.
I want to know more. I want to know more about bycatch.
In Gafamotama, the fishermen use stone net, and also it's called setbed net. And then they are kind of in 1 year they catch like 2 or 3 that we heard from fishermen, and they tangle in the net. This is happening in Gafamotama.
So bycatch is like kind of like accidental catch, and then it caused like the deaths of the animals. So like as Yin mentioned, like there are like some certain fishing gears that they are caught into, and then they are dying. Yeah.
Can you share more about how you would even go about dealing with the bycatch problem?
For me, I think now we know the bycatch is the main problem in Gafamotama, and we can talk or discuss with fishermen and then not harm their livelihood. And then we talk with them and we work with them, give suggestion and knowledge and working together, like how change, how can they change their net style, or like soaking times. And that is what we are still thinking to solve the problem of bycatch. And then another way is to work with the government and then let them know what community is happening, and then how is the dolphin and porpoises like happening, and what is their situation. Yeah, that is for my thinking the way to solve the problem.
Yeah. So like in order to do like as Yin Yin mentioned, so we also have to understand like what is happening in the communities or in the area. So that's why we did local ecological knowledge interviews with the fishermen and also the community members, and also we did we call like rapid bycatch assessment. So like it's really like we're interviewing the fishermen and other people in the communities, like how the patterns of the bycatch of the dolphins, and then which nets they are like kind of causing the bycatch and stuff like that. So upon understanding like all the situations, so like the conservation actions about like dealing with the bycatch would be, as Yin mentioned, so we're gonna have to work together with the communities and also like the government, and also like the like with technical supports, and what is the better option for both the communities and also the dolphins itself, the dolphins and porpoises. Yeah.
It sounds like a tough issue.
Yeah, it sounds like a tough issue.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me more about your work with students.
In here, MCCL, we have MCCL internship program like that, and then we let them involve during their how we call university time. They can stay involved and involved in research, and also we build their skill, like their improvement for the research and also for the other work that will provide their education also. And also we give them the opportunity to learn from field research and then such kind of thing. And
beside like before the MCCL has started, when we already have a good reputation in the university, working with the faculties and also the students in building the capacities of the student. So like and also like we started we call like because by the time like people like they are not people like the students, they're not very interested in conservation, and that's why like we created a course called like English conversation in environmental conservation, which is like we aim to learn English in the context of environmental conservation, which is very like kind of popular, and then a lot of people enjoy that course. And like based on that, like I think like the mindsets of the conservation and the project based on like the conservation is kind of started in the University of Malta. And after that, like when we founded the MCCL, and then we work more closely with Gafamotoma project. So like we did a lot of like scale buildings and also like research capacity buildings with the university students as well as faculties. Like the scale building means like preparing how to prepare their CVs, and then like how to do like like job interviews, and like maybe like some basics computer skills such as using Excels, and also like the research skills, maybe like writing proposal, and then writing writing the scientific documents. And then the most important the parts that we are continuing to work is reading discussion, which is the kind of cultivating the culture of reading academic paper in English with guidance from like the advisors like Tara, and also we are supporting and facilitating the students and sometimes faculties in the reading discussions. So like our aim is kind of building the skills of the students as well as faculties, and like the skills of research and other knowledge in marine conservation especially. Yeah.
Must be busy.
Yeah, we are.
What does you work on?
Yeah. and also like we walk in like some part we walk in with like gender inclusion in the in the environmental conservation. This is really important for to include gender, like how you call woman voice and man voice, like to include like both of them, not only just men. And also and the other work is we're doing some like evaluation with the community, like uh, project evaluation,
Yeah.
like in the community, like how project impact and what they benefit from the project, Motoma project. Yeah, we did such kind of thing, and also besides conservation work, we gave like training to the student and faculties to the Molmyai and Bago University, and also we are working on the plastic issue, like doing campaign, giving some awareness raising, and then also posts on the social media search on that about that. Yeah, and also making material for the like plastic alternatives, like umbrella bag and cloth bag and some stuff like that.
Yeah. And then like we do inform like all of the activities that we do and all of the knowledge that we get in our like the main social media channel called Myanmar Coastal Conservation Lab Facebook page. So we share all these informations and all the knowledges as a social media engagement with general publics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I love about the plastic research that you did, and also some of the observations on plastic as an issue in the Gulf of Matama, is not only the awareness we can give to communities, but the awareness we can learn from the communities. So can you maybe share a little bit about what you learned from the communities about the plastic problem and maybe ways to solve it?
Yeah. What I learned with plastic problem in community, like say in coastal community, and last years I when I do boat survey, I was like helping with the having sorting fish, like fish processing. I want to learn from them, and then I go work together with them, like helping a little bit in my spare time. And then at that time, what I found is plastic. I couldn't believe in my eyes, because the plastic is break down very little species, and then I still asking them that why I like this, and they say we catch fish and then we catch plastic too. Whenever we catch fish, this plastic come with fish, and then we can't sort it out. That's why we just boil the shrimp, and we uh, dry them in the sun, and then we filter it in a bamboo basket. And then that's why the plastic pieces are like getting small and small, because we get it from there like so many times, and then it's become break it down. And also when I doing research about plastic in 6 village in Gava Modama, and then I think they say a lot of health problem with the plastic, because whenever they burn plastic, they suffer from the smoke, and then also sometimes people walking in there, walking in like burning waste, and then they have some lungs problem, and then maybe even like they suffer a lot. Yeah, we learned that. And also one thing is that from the interview, we learned that in the stream, people throw plastic out there, and then the drain is blocked with plastic, and then one water is come, one rain come is got flooded. And even though they know the plastic is as a problem, but they can escape from the plastic because it's cheap, and they mentioned it's cheap and they use it, it's easy to use. Yeah, and most people don't see that as a problem. But some people think this is a problem, but what can we do? We can't do anything about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is plastic issue that I learned from
Yeah.
research and from work.
And also like for me, like as a researcher, like I kind of like recognize like the importance of being mindful. Like for example, as for these common issues like plastic waste and waste reduction in the communities, like the researcher, they might think that okay, they do not have this kind of knowledges, and then they do not have they do have this kind of challenges, and also it's kind of biased the researchers. And so I think in this research, my lesson learned gonna be to be mindful about these kind of biases, and also like you have this is like the chance for the researcher to learn from the communities. Like for example, like in this case, we like they know that they already have those kind of what are the disadvantages and what are the impacts in terms of health, in terms of like the environmental problems to them. Like the problem is they cannot escape from that, like because of like as Union mentioned, because of its really favorable opportunities that plastic is providing. And also like there stay champions in the community like who are dealing with this kind of problems like in their informal way. For example, they are kind of reusing their plastics as much as they can, and also they are they have informal knowledge channel sharing their children or like learning from their son who is from attending the schools about the impacts of plastic. And then they have very good systems. So like, and also like from this research, like one of the opportunity is that I got the optimism on the conservation. So like on the conservation is not all about like the changing the policy or changing the laws, and also like the interviewers or the researcher doing the publication to share this knowledges. It also like connecting with these kind of champions and then learning from them how to move forward, and then taking these kind of lessons and then doing like more user friendly or more accessible or easy ways that every people can follow in the public. Yeah, it would be like my key lessons from the communities from this research about the plastic and waste reduction in the region. Yeah.
That is just so fascinating.
Thank you.
I wonder how you see the future of conservation in Myanmar.
Okay, for the future of Myanmar, for the conservation, yeah, I want to see like from inter-country, inter-ASEAN, the youth, like a lot of youth involved in the conservation work, and then also the community also involved like a kind of participatory research we do, and then we do working together for the conservation, and also the government really notice about this, really pay attention on the conservation and know how it's important this work, and then we got a lot of we can do a lot of research, and then from that research we can decide like what kind of conservation we need to do, and what kind of problem, what kind of issue do we need to solve, and then we can solve together. And I want to see like a lot of research done in Myanmar.
Yeah. I think like compared to like when I started about like 5 years ago, like when I was in the universities, like compared to that time, like people are really more aware about the conservation. At least they use a lot of the terms of conservation, and then this kind of mainstreaming in the communities, especially in social media, and then people are talking more about. I think this is a good way to move forward because of people familiarize this concept, and so that they can follow them later. And also maybe, and also like more youths are also involved, so it is also very positive improvement in the conservation trends of Myanmar. And then like for me, like for the future, like, and I envision kind of more inclusive communities that's working on the conservation, especially in the decision making, so involving like from the youths and also from different genders, and then sharing their perspective and then their experience in conservation and making the actions, and also like, and also involving like the communities and also other sectors in the conservation. And finally, like my main like vision gonna be like conservation is not is as habits, not as approach for the daily life of the people or the communities in Myanmar. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so despite the year, but here that
How do you
vision
feel about how researchers in your country are recognized in the global conservation community?
And I'd like to just kind of add on to that, maybe from some of your experience attending the World Marine Mammal Conference in Barcelona, which Winte, that was your second experience, but Union, your first at a major international conservation conference. So any thoughts or experiences from there that might answer Danny's question also would be interesting to hear.
Okay. For me, like I am also like not very like I am still like very like in the early career of my professionals in conservation communities, but I've been to like some of the conferences and then some like exchange trip. But I think in terms of representations of the works and like the efforts that the researchers are working in the in Myanmar is still very limited. Like for example, like I do like visited like 2 conferences, and also like one is like Marine Conservation Congress, International Marine Conservation Congress. So I think I met only about like 2 or 3 like maybe 1 or 2 people like working from Myanmar, and then representing or who presenting the issues and then the research works in Myanmar as a people from Myanmar. And also similarly like I think in December 2019 we also joined the Marine Mammal Conference in Barcelona. And also like surprisingly like there's no one like attending from Myanmar except like 3 of us who working on the dolphins. So I think and also like and in this is like from the sides of the international conferences that I join. And also like when we talk about like the like being recognized in the literature of the work that researcher did in the Myanmar is still also very limited. For example, like if I want to study more about the ecosystems or the species of Myanmar, in order to get like those kind of like the peer review journals or these kind of materials is still very limited compared to other Asian countries in Myanmar. So I think there's a lot of work that researchers in Myanmar are working and then have already been doing. But I think the recognition from the international conservation community is still very limited. Maybe it's because of like the language barriers, or maybe like the structures of or maybe like yeah, so like there can be like a lots of factors influencing, but I can say that the organization is still limited for the researchers from Myanmar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me too. I feel there are limited number of researchers from Myanmar, and then when the researcher from Myanmar recognized by the other country, I feel so grateful for that. And then also I feel like they can learn a lot from the other country, like from ASEAN and also Europe. They can learn what is happening in the world, and then also like we are knowing how do you say yeah, how to step forward by seeing them, and then also feeling so surprised and grateful like in the World Marine Mammal conferences.
Yeah.
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 What are your main messages to our listeners?
Yeah, my main messenger to the listener is to recognize the marine conservation work, because we are now living in the like in the world, we're living in the environment, and then also that's why we need to like conserve things and then make things right, and then working together and stay balanced with nature, stay harmony with nature. yes, this is my main message to the listener, like learning and learning together and working together to our brighter future.
Yeah. It's like I think for conservation action, so it's the best time, like in our history to do right now. So like in order to do that, I think we need to kind of like empower and then engage with each others, maybe like with the community, so like with the other, like maybe like in with each other nations or supporting from each other, and also maybe we should also have like in order to be more inclusive and conservation efforts, so we also need to have like some kind of like uh, more access to information to do those kind of conservation actions. And also I think most importantly is like we have to work together and collaboratively and also like inclusively, like in terms of gender and then like economically, so like everything, because of like especially like people from like especially a young researcher from very limited countries like Myanmar. So like it is not always like a good route to go for conservation career. So I think in order to be more effective conservation like in every corner of the world, I think we have to empower the youths, and also like we also have to like engage with underrepresentative groups in each corner of the world to be more inclusive communities. Yeah, I think.
That's
Yeah, those are a lot of good messages to share with people. What do you think?
I loved it.
I loved it.
So Yedin, I heard you're an amazing swimmer. Tell me about your
Yes.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you for telling me I'm a good swimmer, and I appreciate it. And my journey on do you mean my journey on swimming, or yeah, and it starts with two teachers from Australia, I think. And yeah, we got training, TOT training from two trainer, and we got training for water safety training. And after that, also I got training, small training from Tara too. And I was really inspired by Tara. Like she swim really
Like a
fast,
mermaids, right?
like a no, like a how you call a seal, like a seal, and so fast. And then I like pretty excited about that, and really interesting to swim. And after that, I'm trying to I make my mind, okay, I want to swim. And I learn to become a good swimmer, and then I learn. And then also after the training, also I practice with Greg, that he is from Point B, the director, co-founder of YB. And then I got practice with him too. And then I swim every day. Until now. Swimming is like our main part of exercise. And also we give training to the student and research team, swimming and water safety training too. And then now I teach some students swimming, and they swim with us, and now they can swim. Yeah, the journey of my swimming is quite long, and also yeah, exciting. Yeah, and here, yeah, in Myanmar, like not much people can swim a lot, and in our like local place, that's why I'm feeling I want to teach them how to swim, and then feeling I want them to feel how is swimming like. And then you can swim like very constantly, right? And how it is feel. I want them to feel that feeling. That's why I help them. Yeah.
Danny, how's your snorkeling?
Yes.
We saw you're snorkeling with your sister, right?
Wow, it is great. I'm getting stronger.
Yay! You
Yay,
did great.
To enjoy the sea with is such a gift.
I see a lot of similarities between your own journeys, learning how to snorkel, becoming stronger swimmers, and Danny's snorkeling journey. But can you say a little bit about what that experience is like, both for you yourselves and seeing the other interns experience that?
The first time snorkeling, and I want to mention is the first is like in the goggle, you spit it and you wipe it first. That is my first memory.
You split it and then you wipe it.
You wipe it and you put it, and at that time it feels a little bit weird to ask because the spit you put a spit in there for Asia. This is that's kind of weird. Yeah. The snorkeling the time in Miek that we have is it was so exciting because we never have that experience before, and then we can see only in the movie, and we couldn't believe it. We are in the water, and also when we arrive in the water and we see the coral. Oh my gosh, I feel like I am arriving I'm on another planet. Like I feel like we are separated, like ocean is a different home, and then land is a different home, the ocean is the other home. And then when I see the fish, and I thought, okay, we visit to fish. We visit to coral. This is a great opportunity for us. And also, okay, what is this experience like to me? And then this is such amazing experience to be snorkel. And I wonder, okay, if I become a researcher, I will have this opportunity more, and then to learn about world, to learn about ocean more. And also, of course, I really love the blue water. The water is the clean water, and also rocks outside there. And then, this is such amazing experience on the first snorkel time, and also a kind of worry too, because at that time I couldn't swim well. And then how about I drown and the people don't see this, and I have such a kind of worry. But Tara, you did a great job to us and encourage us, and also that power I get from you a lot. And also this is a great chance to get to familiar with the snorkeling in Miek. And unforgettable moment and memory.
And also like Danny, getting like stronger and stronger and to be more confident in snorkeling is, I think it's very normal. Like for me, I think it's a very long process for me to be confident and then like to be, like cool down in the water with the snorkels, with the max on them, with all these like the snorkels. And also it's very difficult. And then I drink a lot of sea waters and then that's really hard. So like, I think that's pretty normal. And also not just me, like all the people like with like, for example, my friends and then my interns, they also go through this kind of process to be more confident and then to be more calm in the water. So like you're doing great, and then you will be like the master of the sea later with Tara.
And also when I saw your picture on Facebook, I feel, wow, Danny really fit on the snorkeling suit and it looked really great. Danny, you're a good snorkeler.
Yeah.
I feel so excited to hear your encouragement. I wish I could talk with you for hours.
Thank you, Danny.
It is really good to talk with you, Danny.
It was my pleasure. You're inspiring to me.
Thank you, Danny. We are too.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Thanks for your time. Bye.
I really learned so much from them.
What were some of the things that stand out to you that you learned?
About bycatch.
So bycatch is accidental capture in fishing gears. And it's quite a serious conservation problem for marine mammals, sea turtles, seabirds around the world, and sharks and rays also. So what's one thing that stood out to you that you learned about bycatch?
Yes, it is so difficult to address in a socially responsible way.
It's really tricky. That's what a lot of my work focuses on. How do we reduce this accidental capture in small-scale fisheries, which are linked to coastal communities that really depend on fishing, without harming the humans themselves? It's really difficult, and I think that's why it remains one of the main threats to many of these animals around the world.
And I never really thought about the challenges and obstacles facing researchers from developing countries.
Yeah, I mean, conservation and academia as a whole, it tends to be very America, Europe centric. The main language internationally is English. The major conferences are mainly held in English, often held in expensive cities, and it's often expensive to travel there and to pay for your food and accommodations there. And getting published in English when it's not your first, second, or even third language is a huge barrier. And there's many other ways in which conservation is biased toward the developed countries, the American and European countries. So it is a big challenge.
Unfair. I hope there are steps taken to make it more diverse and inclusive.
Yeah, me too. I mean, some societies are starting to pay attention to it. I think it's an issue that's being brought up more and more, but there is a long way to go. And so I think that making opportunities, funding, salaries more available to people doing this really important work in developing countries is a huge need, and it will be a very important step.
What I learned from Wint, and Eden is that great ideas and passion are all around the world.
That's really true, Danny.
And no matter where it is found, it should be supported and allowed to shine.
That's a really wonderful takeaway lesson from this interview, and I hope it's something that everyone who watches this comes away with. That's a really nice message, Danny. Anything else?
And I'm looking forward to visiting Myanmar with you.
I would love that, Danny.
To share it in kind. What we can see with our hearts is more than the sum of its parts. What we can see.
By the way, Danny, like the whole thing of Point Me is the fun of your poems. So
Yeah.
please write more and then post it more.
Oh,
We
this
are
is
waiting.
Same message.
Yeah, well,
I really love any poem. Yeah, and then maybe write poem about sea, more about sea. Yeah, I really love reading poem about nature from Danny, and kind of teaching me something.
Yeah.
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 I'm so very pleased to hear it.
I'm so very pleased to hear it.
This